There's something about vintage envelopes that just work perfectly in our junk journals. For this weekend's make, I'm sharing a beautiful old style vintage envelope. You know, the ones with the old printed security pattern on the inside. I've got the template for you. You can go to my website and download this. It's a 2-page template. So you've got your front envelope on one page, and on a separate page, you've got your security pattern to print out. Now you can print this out just with the front page. You don't have to print your pattern on the back. I'll show you what that would look like. Once you've cut your envelope out, if you just printed it out with just the envelope pattern and cut your envelope out, that's what it would look like. And once it's folded up, this is what it's going to look like when you see it through the window. Now, if you printed it and you still wanted to see a little bit of colour through the window, you could print the plain one and then get some of your blue distress ink and just colour up the sides here and the back, and then put your window in, glue it together, and when you have it folded and finished, this is what you see through the window on the inside. You still get to see a little bit of colour, but you've used distress ink instead of a print. And this one here is printed out with the both sides printed. It doesn't matter which side you print first. I've just been printing my blue side first, and then I go and print my envelope on the opposite side. Once you've cut your envelope out, you'll then need to cut your window out. And I'll show you a little tip on how to cut your window out. I use a craft knife and a pair of fussy cutting scissors. I'll put the link below for you. This makes it much easier to cut the window out by hand. I just put a cut down both sides of the inside of the window and then both ends. So I'm essentially cutting out a rectangle. I'm going to swap over to my fussy cut scissors, and then I just go in and cut on the line to cut my window out. It's a lot easier to handle your paper. Right, so now we've got our window cut out. Now before you fold your sides in, it's optional to add colour. I'm going to use the distress ink in tea dye. I've already coloured this one here, but what I've done is I've only put it on the very edge. How you colour your envelope is entirely up to you. So you go ahead and colour your edges if you're going to colour. Now for folding the flaps in, I use a ruler and my scanner cut scraper. I put the ruler down from end to end, lift the paper up slightly, and I run the scraper along the edge of the ruler to get a crease. You can freehand fold if you prefer. Do that on all 4 fold lines. Now the flaps get folded in first, and then that over the top. I always like to crease them in the order that I'm folding them, because that way everything's going to fold down proper. Right, now before I glue it closed, I'm going to put my window in. Now the way I do my windows is I've got a little box of envelopes and I just go through them, and I've got ones with clear windows. These ones here are more like glassine. So I'll choose one of these, but you need to make sure that it's big enough to fit your window. This one's a bit small. Here's one here. Yep. I don't try and tear this glassine out of the window. I cut it out. And this is how I go about it. I just leave a little border. I'm going to cut right through 2 pieces. I use my craft knife all the time. Just use scissors if you have them. So just cutting around the window, leaving a little border. I'm just using the Barely Art Glue because it's got a really nice fine point on it. I'm going to put a very thin line around the edge of the window, but I'm not putting it right near it, because if you do, when you press your window down, it's going to squash out through it and make a bit of a mess. And it just fits on this window. And I've got no glue coming out whatsoever, no mess. You don't have to use a recycled envelope to make your window either. You could use some vellum. So you don't really have to have a clear window. If you don't want to put anything in your envelope and you just want to have it for decoration with an empty envelope, just use it like that. You could very, very easily do it with a piece of vellum. So I've just folded my sides in. I add the glue to the back flap, and again, one thin strip on either side. And that envelope is finished. It looks pretty cool. It's going to fit nicely in any size journal you got, because it's not a big envelope. Depending on the size of your postcard or whatever ephemera you've got to put in there, you could fold up a letter or a note. It's gonna look really cool. Not bad for just a piece of copy paper. So you can embellish your envelope however you like. I'm not embellishing today. I'm just doing a very quick one, and I'm going to leave that up to you. So I'm going to leave these others and I'm going to put them away in my stash. I've inked up the edges a lot more than I did earlier, and that's up to personal preference. So it just, the tea dyed ink does match this foxing on the envelopes. So I'm going to leave them blank so that when I go and put them in my journal, I can get them out and I'll match the stamp to whatever I'm putting in my journal. So this is a nice cheap way, free for you to download, and just use your copy paper and your recycled envelopes for the windows. Have a great time creating these, and now you can watch this video here.